All right, everyone. My name is Melissa McKay. I'm a developer advocate for JFrog, and I'm here in Sweden, in Stockholm, at JFocus. And sitting next to me is Ana Maria.
Hello, folks. Nice to see you again and to talk to you again, Melissa. A long time since we didn't speak.
Yes, very much.
And happy to be here at JFocus and talking on subjects related to Kubernetes again and to DevOps and deployments. So, yeah, pretty nice to be here and also to be into in-person events again and see actual folks in the room, interact with people and hear questions live and see the eyes of the folks when they are receiving the information from the talk. So that's an awesome feeling and great connection with the attendees here at JFocus.
Yeah, very different experience, not just for the attendees,
Yes.
but for our speakers as well.
Definitely.
It definitely
we
makes a
miss the
difference.
connection
Yes.
to people.
Yes. Tell us about your talk a little bit. What is
So-
the title, and have you given it already, or is it coming
Yes.
up? Okay.
Yes. So my talk was already given. It's the automation challenge, Kubernetes operators versus Helm charts. It was more of a pros and cons of both approaches when maintaining and automating deployments of applications over Kubernetes. I know that nowadays there are a little bit more tools to work over in doing the deployments in Kubernetes. However, historically speaking, Helm has been there to help us in general when packaging applications for Kubernetes. And of course, a little newer, the specification for operators that is there to help us even more with automation of applications that are stateful. And here I'm just, enumerating a bit about databases that you would like to have available in Kubernetes, or maybe the monitoring systems. Nowadays, you can also manage them through operators. It's much more easier to do the management of backup, restores, upgrades of these kind of portions of your platforms via the operators, then just do it regularly yourself via the traditional YAMLs with hard-coded values,
Right.
or just using Helm. So it was more of this in my talk, and of course some demos and deployments, and of course sharing the code as always, so that people can try it. Yes, it was great to also hear questions and also anti-patterns. There was a question about anti-patterns of using these. And yes, it was great vibe again to see that the talk was really fun and good and welcomed. It was a little bit reworked from its previous version. So yeah, because things are evolving, so more
Yes.
lessons learned
I think
added.
I have that experience just in general when you give a talk and the next time you give it, it's a little bit different. It
Yes.
just continues to evolve as things happen, things change, and just in Kubernetes and that whole entire landscape is so huge. There's so much to do there,
Yes.
and I'm sure you have a lot of
Yeah.
room for future topics and
Oh,
stuff
yes.
too.
Whenever I'm giving a talk, I'm always remembering, most of the time it's 5 minutes before the talk, I could have added that as well because I know that use case. And then I'm like, oh, maybe the next time that I'm going to do the talk, I'm going to include that as well. And for example, yesterday I forgot to mention a Helm file. So I was having the tab open and I was wanting to mention the tool, even if it's MIT. It's not supported as a general tool, but it's pretty popular around working with Helm. And one of the attendees, I was telling him, I forgot about Helm file. And he said to me, no worries, we already use it. I was like, okay, cool. Some people do know about it. But there are more and more things to be added, even to this landscape of the all-known tools, part of the CNCF already, or future of CNCF, because that is expanding. So, yeah.
Yes, all of these tools are coming up, being created every day, evolving.
Yeah.
I can only think that is in response to the challenge of working with Kubernetes deployments. Do you find a pattern emerging when you talk to folks? What are the biggest struggles that they have in this particular area?
I think that, generally speaking right now, the struggle, if I'm just abstracting everything, is still separating the concerns within the team, who's doing what at the application level and who's doing what at the infrastructure level, and somehow ensure coordination between the configurations that stay with the application and the configurations that stay with the infrastructure, but still have a good mingle and development process altogether. So on the long term, that's something that all these tools are trying to improve, actually, like to speed up, to put us up to speed, to spend less time and have less frictions when dealing with Kubernetes, but also when dealing with each other's responsibilities within a team, so that we don't end up learning too much about other roles or other areas, because oftentimes you can hear that people like to just focus on the application code or just focus on infrastructure, not necessarily learn the parts that were not designed for their role. Of course, It's the first from organization to organization. There are organizations that also like to teach their developers to go into the operational side as well. But it's also coming from the professional point of view. If you want to do that, that's great. It's great to have a holistic view on how things are working. It's not hurting anybody, but it's up to you how much you want to be involved and how deep you want to be involved. Because, yes.
Yeah.
It's still difficult, to navigate everything around the operational side. It's not just deployments. It's also about traffic patterns, about networking, and all this. It comes with Kubernetes. And at some point, you might say that, hey, that's enough for me. It might be enough for me as a developer. So maybe I want to focus just on the application and the business of the application, not necessarily think about how it's going to be the traffic and what patterns I'm going to use, and all the other things that are coming at that level. So I would say in general that this actually the DevOps culture is about collaboration. So we want to encourage the people have a good conversation in the team, that they talk to each other, but they don't not say talk too much, but they don't spend a lot of time informing each other about what they did and going through the opposite direction, knowing too much.
Yeah. This really resonates with me, what you're saying about, trying to figure out where the expectations are, where the lines are drawn, because it can be very overwhelming. And if you can imagine, I work for a DevOps company, so we come across this topic quite a lot with development teams, figuring out that communication that works amongst the team. And I think sometimes there's this misunderstanding that there is an expectation you should know everything. And I don't think that is the case, and correct me if you have a different opinion. Being able to be an expert at everything is just, unfeasible for a human being, really. But what you said about having an awareness of everything is better.
Well, I think regardless of what we're doing in our role day to day and the language that we're using, we are open to finding a solution to a certain problem. So investigation and finding a solution and offering a solution is part of our job as developers, as professionals. That's okay. However, knowing simultaneously everything, that's a total different story. So that's indeed something that I observed as well. And I think it's sane and safe and healthy for us to be solution oriented and be aware of how to provide a solution to something and not feel blocked when we need to provide a solution, than knowing to perfection only a specific topic or 2 or 3 topics, and that's to give us some certainty. Programming languages are evolving, tools are evolving together with them, frameworks are evolving together with them, Kubernetes and many other orchestrators are also evolving in the space of DevOps. So just focusing on one technology or more technologies might bring some disappointment later in time when something else gets innovated and oh my God, I spent so much time doing this and perfecting myself into this. So now it gets replaced with this. And because our world has evolved, it's not like it used to be maybe 10, 15 years ago, when you could have seen that if you had, for example, experience with Spring or with Java, EE, and there used to be this generic experience where numbers of years of experience with a certain framework or language really mattered. Nowadays, it's more like what you have achieved in terms of solution in a specific set of time is much more important and shows more about you as an individual than the amount of years that you have spent with a specific technology or tool.
And it's definitely a different type of skill to be the problem solver and to be able to adapt as you need in order to solve what you need to solve that day. And it will be entirely different tomorrow.
True.
For sure. Well, speaking of collaboration, I had the honor and privilege to collaborate with Ana Maria on a book.
Oh, yes.
Would you like to tell our audience about that?
Yes, we have collaborated. I was a guest author, I could say, to DevOps Tools for Java Developers. Hope you'll give it a read and try and see the examples we have there, because it's also a book that's accompanied by examples, by code examples, but also it talks about practices and does and don'ts. So just give it a try and read about it. We're going to focus on maintaining the code, so that's a good plus. We're trying to make it as a nowadays book, and hopefully it can give you an idea from the Java developer point of view how you can navigate the DevOps landscape and how you can understand better your colleagues that are working in the infrastructure side, and how you can collaborate better with them and say to them like, hey, I know a bit about this and I know a bit on how to do this, and there's a practice around this. So actually I think that was the aim of our book, to be a support for those folks that are aiming for a better collaboration from development side towards the operational side. So
this is exactly the point, and my colleagues and I were very fortunate to come across Ana Maria and her willingness to contribute. And I have to say, we did talk amongst ourselves, and we're like, who could we bring in for this particular subject? Because none of us, feel like we are at the right level to be able to talk to this, to be able to provide the information in a way that would make the best, influence for readers. And it was wonderful to have you included.
It was wonderful to collaborate with you as well. Great team. So it's nice to always be part of a team that's aligned, that we're sharing the same goals, and we all had in mind to offer you the best advice and the best practices around being DevOps oriented from a Java developer point of view. So I hope you'll enjoy it. The book is, I think it's available on O'Reilly. Not sure if it's available yet for the printed version, but yes, give it a try. I mean, we loved reading it because we read each other's chapters, so it was really fun to read and to collaborate with in that context, and hopefully to many more collaborations in the future, because it's always nice to bring different perspectives in order to create something better and to give you more ideas on how you can improve your development practices.
Absolutely, well said. Couldn't have said it any better. Well, it's been wonderful to see you here at JFrog.
Wonderful
I'm
to
sure
be
we
interviewed
will
by you.
Cross paths again in the future at the next conference. If you missed Ana Maria's talk, or you're interested in seeing what more she has to say, please check out the recordings on the JFocus website after the conference is over.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.